Jabba ruled with fear. I intend to rule with respect.
Book of Boba Fett is a very interesting scenario that I find myself in. On one hand, I loved a lot of aspects about the show. On another hand, I hated a lot of aspects about this show. This show is insanely divisive to me. Divisive. This show is very conflicting to me. And I found myself at times loving it, times hating it, and I'm going to get into it now, if I can.
If you had spoken such insolence to Jabba, he'd have fed you to his menagerie.
Please, speak freely.
So, if any of you have been watching The Mandalorian, you'll kind of know about this because the post-credits scene to Season 2 of Mandalorian had Boba Fett taking over the throne that Jabba the Hutt used to have. If you don't know any of the names I'm talking about, stop watching because I'm talking about Star Wars stuff here, and if you haven't seen any of the original trilogy films, you're going to have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about, so this kind of requires a somewhat fan base to have been following this to be able to pick up this show. If you have absolutely no idea who Boba Fett is, or who Din Djarin is, who Luke Skywalker is, who Jabba the Hutt is, I'm sorry, you're going to be completely lost to the show. You're not going to be able to enjoy it. For people who have seen Star Wars and who are coming into this in a fan aspect of Star Wars, there's going to be stuff you're going to like about this, but there's going to be stuff that you hate. One thing that I think was a big mistake for the show was the fact that they called it The Book of Boba Fett. In reality, they should have called this The Mandalorian, The Book of Boba Fett, or The Mandalorian Season 3, Book of Boba Fett, Mandalorian Season 3, Boba Fett. I think this title is going to confuse and inconvenience a lot of people who have been watching the Mandalorian series. I am one of them. I really liked the first and second season of Mandalorian, and I was honestly considering not watching this show, not because I didn't like Boba Fett, just it wasn't the character I was fond of. It's like, okay, Boba Fett, I don't know if I need to see that or not. And come to find out, if you are someone who watched Season 1 and 2 of Mandalorian, decide to quit on this one and go, I'll wait till Season 3 of Mandalorian comes out. When that season comes out, you are going to be undeniably confused as hell, because this has a lot of characters from Season 2 of Mandalorian return and continue on. So Season 3 of Mandalorian isn't going to end with like the final scene of Season 2 playing like, okay, this is where we left off. No. Season 3 is going to pick up at a very confusing place for a lot of people who are going to jump on the show, because again, this show is kind of a continuation of The Mandalorian. I don't want to spoil how or why, just it kind of is. And there are times watching this show, I had a lot of fun with this show. Case in point, I love the kind of flashback backstories that Boba Fett has when he's in this like healing tank called a Bacta tank. And there's this one backstory showing his time with Tusken Raiders, which I really liked that. Some people didn't, but I liked it because all these years we've only ever seen Tusken Raiders as the things in Star Wars that go and that worked for what it needed to be in the original movies, but over time you kind of start asking, what are these people like? Are they, are they just as simple as that? And so with this show, Book of Boba Fett, you kind of get more of a backstory into how Tusken Raiders are, and I kind of liked it. They kind of had a more in-depth look into one of those weapons that I've seen for years, and I always thought they looked freaking stupid, and I had no idea what the point it was for them. And this show kind of did a turnaround with me on that, because it's like, oh, that's what that's... Okay. So, I liked that aspect of it. I also liked they showed how him and Fennec? Ming Nong. I know her real name more than her character name. Anyway, I always liked her in Season 2 of Mandalorian. I liked her in the one episode she was in Season 1. And she gets to do a lot more in this show. And I like her character. I'm glad she's back. And I enjoyed her in this show. What I didn't enjoy... There was a lot I didn't enjoy, like various little things, like the assistant to the mayor. I never once liked his character. He was obnoxious as hell. I also didn't like one of the returning characters that I don't want to spoil. She was in previous seasons of The Mandalorian, and I always liked her then, but they kind of just made her super obnoxious by the last episode, and she wasn't even really delivering her lines that well. It's just like, I know this character can do better. But, like, probably the worst aspect of this show is the mods. If you've seen the show, you know I was going there. They are atrociously terrible. I could not stand them. They were just an amazing idea gone to shit. That is the best description of these characters. Because, on paper, these characters sound really fucking awesome. Okay, hey, we're going to have a biker gang that is half man, half android, and they're going to be like these criminals that become like Boba Fett's, security force. It's like, on paper, that sounds really awesome. I'm picturing like T-800s, half skin, half machine, on like these choppers with like machine guns on their back, and what we got was a far cry from that. Essentially, we got teenage kids on Vespas who were cringy as fuck, dressed like idiots, and had no redeeming qualities about them whatsoever. Cool concept, shit execution. And I will give credit where credit's due. When they were introduced, I thought, okay, this could work. Because I liked the scene of Boba Fett first meeting the mods. But after that, it's just downhill from there. They tanked this show very badly. And unfortunately, that they are going to throw a lot of viewers off. Now, thankfully, they're only in the third and last episode for the most part. There's 7 episodes, so you don't have to suffer through them for very long. But the third episode has one of the shittiest chases I've ever seen. Like, they try and make this seem like a really exciting chase scene through the streets of Mos Espa, I think it is. I'm not familiar with all the names in Star Wars, so forgive me for any diehard Star Wars fans out there. But this chase scene was pathetically lame. I mean, it was cringy at moments, and just... You have Robert Rodriguez and Jon Favreau working on this show. And these guys know how to do an action scene. So I have to assume that maybe they didn't work on this scene in particular. They just left it to some second unit crew, because this scene was dog shit. And these characters were dog shit. And unfortunately, they do stop this show from being like an absolute must-watch. But there are things I absolutely loved about this show. Case in point, I can't get into spoilers, but episode 5 and 6 were very freaking entertaining. And then there were segments in episode 7 that I really liked. Case in point, Boba Fett uses a gimmick to turn the tide of the battle. That was pretty cool. Seeing Boba Fett and this other character fighting back to back was pretty freaking cool, I have to admit. I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of people at comic book conventions dressing up as these two to recreate that scene, because I got like kind of a Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid vibe with that moment, which was pretty awesome. You know, but the sad thing is most of the stuff that I like was returning cameo aspects from other things, whether it's the Star Wars movie series or the Mandalorian TV series. In terms of original stuff, not a whole lot. I like the new Wookiee character they introduced. I like a couple of the things that they did with Boba Fett's backstory. But ultimately, this is going to be more for, hey, remember this? Rather than, we got this new thing we want to introduce. Because a lot of the new things they introduce don't land on its feet, and that's the sad part about the show. But the good thing is the returning stuff that's going to like bring fans in, that will help redeem a lot of the problems with the show. Also, not exactly a spoiler, but just something really neat. Danny Trejo's in the show for like 3 minutes, but it's like, hey, that's cool. Kind of a Danny Trejo fan. Another thing that kind of bugged me, I won't say this is a negative, it's just something that was a little bit lacking on the showrunner's part, is anytime they show Boba Fett really walking around the city, he's just going to this one bar. Like the same bar over and over again. It's like, I must walk among my people. And then he just goes to the same bar again and again and again. Like, okay, Amelie, Jennifer Beals, dressed as a Twi'lek, pretty nice on the eyes, but that's not a good enough reason for you to only keep going there, Bubba. Okay, you gotta go to a couple of other places. They always show this huge, like, fast expanding shot of the city, but they ever only show, like, 3 locations. I understand, sets are expensive. You have to pay for them. But at the same time, you could have done more than just the same bar he's going to over and over and over again. I keep making the suggestion, and I don't know why no one's done it. They should close the Star Wars park in Disneyland for like 3 days and film one of their live-action Star Wars projects there, because that park is amazing to see in person. They just need to take down a couple of signs, and voila! You have a highly detailed set you can film in. I don't know why Disney has not capitalized on that theme park yet, because that theme park would absolutely work in a movie or a TV show. Overall, I did enjoy this show. The pros did kind of outweigh the cons, but those cons were really bad cons. And so this is kind of a mediocre show in my opinion. If you're looking for a good sci-fi adventure type ordeal, yeah, you will get joy out of this. If you are turned off by some of the negative aspects in this show, it may not be worth it. If you don't like the idea of teenage, peppy android kids riding on 2-mile-an-hour scooters, yeah, you're not going to like this show. It's kind of up to you if the pros outweigh the con. So, that has been my review of Book of Boba Fett. Don't forget to, do the thing. My name's Christopher Kyle with 11 Hour Reviews, and that will be all.